Hello and afternoon, everyone. I'm Eric Smith. Our top stories. It's a big investment for Michigan, a $3 billion Ford battery plant going to a site near Marshall, Michigan. Details announced this afternoon at a Ford battery lab in Romulus. In New York City, a driver is in custody after driving onto sidewalks and into pedestrians, then leading police on a wild chase through Brooklyn. New data from the CDC shows a mental health gap is getting worse in teenagers. The agency says rates of substance use, bullying, and sexual violence are now worse among high school girls compared to high school boys. Auto shopping has been a consumer priority so far this year, with the Manheim Used Vehicle Value Index in January rising 2.5% from December, an unusually strong gain after the holidays. The index shows used car and truck prices rising for the second straight month after falling 6 consecutive months, and the Dow is up 255 points. This is EBS News, live in Detroit. We start with new information today about the object that was shot down over the Great Lakes this past weekend. Congresswoman Elissa Slotkin, speaking today in Howell, said that the object shot down did not pose a security threat to the United States, and that's because of its shape. So, what is it? Congresswoman Elizabeth Slotkin.
We do not know what it is right now. I've seen all kinds of speculation from another Chinese object to an academic who put up some sort of, sensing device. They determined that it wasn't a threat to national security. They shot it down over water and they're trying to collect the gear.
And the Congresswoman said that more details will be determined when that wreckage is found in the choppy waters of Lake Huron. Meanwhile, we are hearing more from politicians locally about that unidentified object. We caught up with U.S. Senator Gary Peters of Michigan, who was taking a tour of the Next Energy headquarters, an electric vehicle battery lab in Novi. Here's what he said about the Lake Huron situation.
We're still not sure exactly what it was, who owned it, what its operation was. That's going to be determined once the debris field has been accessed, and the Coast Guard is in the process right now of recovering that to take a look at what it is.
Peters also said he's happy that President Joe Biden is taking an aggressive posture to take down objects flying in American airspace. He added that the object over Lake Huron, while it was not a security risk to the people on the ground, was, however, a potential hazard for commercial flights in the sky. A 3-year-old girl reported missing and in danger by Michigan State Police over the weekend has been found safe. Xenia Jones was believed to be with her biological father after he failed to surrender her to Child Protective Services. Police say that the 54-year-old Wardell Jones ignored a court order instructing him to turn the child over to CPS. Michigan State Police now say that the girl is safe and sound. They are not saying where she was found or whether the father is expected to face any charges. EBS News Time, 3:08. Time now for local traffic and weather. We have an accident reported on southbound 75 near 9 Mile. Police report some debris on the roadway, mostly in the right center lane, slowing traffic to 10 Mile Road. Another crash reported on eastbound 696 at Hoover. That's got you slowed down in the right lane all the way from Mound. And we have a slowdown on the east side, I-94 from New Haven Road south. 2 left lanes will be closed through early May. Traffic is backed up all the way to 23 Mile Road. EBS News Time, it's 3:10. Several players with Michigan ties had a chance to hoist the Lombardi Trophy last night. 3 Wolverines, an Eagle, and 2 Broncos are Super Bowl champions this morning after the Chiefs defeated the Eagles 38-35 last night in Glendale. From U of M, Frank Clark, Mike Dana, and veteran backup quarterback Chad Henne, who announced his retirement following the game. Also, Andrew Wiley, who hails from Eastern Michigan, and the Western lineman Mike Kelly-Ando, and wide receiver Sky Moore, who scored a wide-open 4-yard touchdown in the fourth quarter to help fuel the rally. Alumni from the state of Michigan left their mark on the big game, and if the Chiefs dynasty continues, they may continue to do so in the years to come. And joining me now is Jim Stark, Executive Director of the Michigan Sports Legacy Conservancy. So Jim, what are your thoughts about the Super Bowl this past week?
Well, Eric, thanks for having me today. It's great to be with you. I think the Super Bowl was one of the best football games in the Super Bowl I've ever seen. You had 2 really well-matched teams. I thought they played very well. You had 2 of the top quarterbacks in the NFL facing off, 2 of the best defenses. So it was a great game. I thought some of the other things might have been a little bit dicey. I thought the commercials this year weren't very good. I was kind of disappointed about that, and I thought the halftime entertainment was a little bit questionable. But when it comes to the game itself, it was a terrific matchup.
I've been hearing this a lot recently, but do you think that Patrick Mahomes is going to be the next Tom Brady?
It's a long way to go for Tom Brady. Tom Brady played this league over 20 years. Mahomes may be the best guy going right now. He's got a long way to go to fill Brady's shoes. But he's a good quarterback right now. Don't get me wrong. He's probably the best in the league. But put him in Brady's. Let's talk in about 15 years.
Yeah, and also, what do you think of the Lions' chances next year? Maybe with their current manager, or do you think they need a better roster of members?
Well, they made tremendous progress this year under the new general manager and the new coach. And I think right now, Las Vegas has them as one of the highest ranked NFC teams to make it next year. I think if they have a good draft, make a few good personnel changes, they could actually be a contender as early as next year.
So what do you think about the social ramifications of the Super Bowl overall, how the fans reacted and everything after the win?
Well, it's a huge event. Forget the football game for a minute. It is one of the biggest social events of the year. Parties everywhere. The gamblers, the Vegas followers, it's one of the biggest betting days of the entire year. So the implications of the Super Bowl now are so much more than just the football game. It's become a way of life for a lot of Americans. The commercials themselves have become a point of discussion and describing who's the best. So it's become so much more than just a football game. It is a way of life for most Americans come Super Bowl Sunday.
You're going to marvel at what I'm about to play for you. These are some great artists that have been nominated but have never won a Grammy. Imagine looking up at your shelf, being some of these American superstars and going, I got the American Music Award, I got the Moon Man up there, I just don't have the Grammy, which is music's equivalent of the Oscars. So these artists are in no particular order. How about this one?
Came in like a wrecking ball. I never hit so hard in love. All I want is
Now Miley Cyrus, who's been nominated twice, has never won a Grammy, which I'm really surprised by, but I don't have a problem with. I don't know that she's done anything Grammy-worthy yet, but still the thing is, there's time for her.
I put you.
Okay, this one. You gotta put your emotions to the side on this one, okay? Just go with the actual music. They have been nominated 5 times and have never won. Nickelback has never won a Grammy, but I'm also okay with that because they're not great. They're not bad, they're good. I bet they clean up at the Junos, which is Canada's Grammys. Let's see here, yeah, 12 Juno Awards, there you go. How about this band? 4 nominations, never won a Grammy. Never. No Beach Boys Grammys. Yeah, that's shocking. I mean, that's not a good representation of what the Beach Boys can do. But no Grammys, even back in the day? I'd love to know who beat them out for those nominations. They actually received a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Recording Academy in 2001, but have never won an actual Grammy. Now, the lead singer of this group may have won a Grammy, but I don't know. But the group itself has 2 nominations and never won a Grammy.
Baby love, my baby love. I need you. Oh, I need you.
How have the Supremes never won a Grammy? And I'm surprised they've only received 2 nominations, and Diana Ross has been nominated for 13. However, she's never won one. Guess who's never been nominated for a Grammy? Never even nominated. This song was #1 on Domino's Hot 5 at 10 on WJLZ for literally a year. No Grammys. I have nothing. I can't respond to that. Def Leppard. Amazing. This one really is just, wow. Only 1 nomination for this band? How could it possibly be?
Don't stop believing. Hold on to that feeling.
Like, how did Faithfully or Open Arms never get nominated for a Grammy? I mean, not even a nomination for Don't Stop Believing? You'd think at least during that window when they were riding high, they would have at least had some nominations. I could see them maybe not winning because, again, you're always up against the best of the best that year. But yeah, I mean, they've got some of the industry's biggest hits and never nominated for a Grammy. This artist was nominated 5 times.
We were trying different things, and we were smoking funny things.
I'm surprised. Early on during Kid Rock's music career, this song was huge on the radio, and as far as I'm concerned, that song is not even scratching the surface of his best. But he was nominated 5 times, no Grammys. 8 nominees for this band. 8, no wins.
Tell me why ain't nothing but a thought.
Backstreet Boys was nominated more than Kid Rock, Def Leppard, The Beach Boys, No Window. Okay, I don't know. You know how I feel about boy bands, and some say the song right there is the greatest boy band song ever. Whatever. But the fact is, they were nominated that many times, it's pretty ridiculous. And finally,
I got the eye of the tiger.
13 nominations, the most of anyone we've spoken about today. 13 nominations for Katy Perry. She's never been able to walk up that stage and pick up that Grammy, and to me that's surprising, because I do feel she's proven herself. She should have won something out of all those 13. There you go. Hopefully there's some Grammys in the future for all of these artists. I've got my fingers crossed. Thanks for listening in. Have a good night. We are here today with world-renowned flutist and Detroit icon Alexander Zonchik. Alexander, welcome to the show.
My pleasure, Eric.
I heard recently that you released a new CD. What can you tell me about that?
The most recent, no longer new, but most recent CD is, like a lot of my albums, they all have a big Detroit connection. It's called Playing It Forward. We released it right after COVID, which was a challenging time. There's a great single on there, Motor City Sway, which was very much dedicated to the city of Detroit. But all of my records, through all the years, have all had some connection with Detroit. Record's doing quite well. 3 singles from that new record are already out. And, as far as my own personal family goes, apparently it's a pretty good record.
Oh, all right. So why Detroit of all cities? I mean, what is your connection to Detroit?
Connection with Detroit, kind of a simple one. Grew up in Windsor, Ontario. So when you grow up in Windsor, over there in Canada, south of you, by the way, as we all know, that's where you set your sights on. It's not New York and LA, because Detroit is, and I say it all the time, greatest music city in the whole world. So growing up, it was always about Detroit. It was about Motown, the symphony, the great culture that's here. So even though I traveled all over the world and continue to do so, Detroit was always where I wanted to make my mark, so to speak, and also where I found an amazing audience. And I've pretty much become a real adopted son, so to speak. So I love the D, as we say.
Yeah, Detroit does have a lot of character to it. So what influenced you to get into music, especially jazz?
Well, you say jazz. I don't consider myself a jazz artist. I really do. I'm really a little more eclectic than that. There is jazz in my music. Music started early on. Guitar when I was 8 years old. Beatles, all of the early, British invasion bands. Because I'm in Windsor, Motown comes along. Lots of R&B, playing in rock bands. Flute comes along real late, like when I'm 21 years old. I go back to university. I study. I play classical music. And so music just evolved. It all evolved that way. And I understand why people think I'm a jazz artist, but I don't really think of myself as a jazz artist. I think my music is jazzy, but not necessarily jazz. There is improvisation. I am an instrumental artist. There's no singing. So, but what's not to like about jazz? It's America's greatest cultural export.
And I also heard that you were part of a recent festival. What can you tell us about that?
I do a lot of events. For people that know me in the Detroit area, they know that I'm an artistic director and a producer, so to speak, and a promoter, even though I think of myself less a promoter than I do an artistic director. I've been doing a lot of great events. We just finished doing a wonderful event that is basically a way to satisfy our fans who can't wait for the summer by doing a jazz festival, an outdoor jazz festival indoors. We call it Alexander Zonchik's Cabin Fever Jazz Festival. Find a big space. In this case, it was the Southfield Pavilion. They bring lawn chairs, they bring coolers, and they feel like they're at an outdoor festival, only we're inside, and it was very successful. We've done it for quite a few years, and these fans are so loyal, whatever you want to call them, smooth jazz fans, contemporary jazz fans, love not only performing, but also presenting other artists. So happy to say Cabin Fever 2023 was very successful.
Thank you for coming on to the show.
My pleasure. Thank you, Eric.
Alexander Zonchik, who will be playing at the Detroit Theater this coming Friday.